travelers, Mag and I here on day 181 of our trip around the United States. Today is the first of several days that we'll have during a long admin period here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We built this admin period into the center of our schedule right after the halfway point in case there were any administrative tasks we'd fallen behind on and in case we need to do major vehicle maintenance. Both of those things have come to fruition. There are lots of things I need to take care of over the next couple of days, so I'm going to be going hot and heavy between my phone and the computer, catching up on all those tasks I've been putting off as we've been on the road day after day, day after day. My car is also in the shop right now. There's a few minor things that need to happen mechanically, but in the last week I lost all charging capability in my car. Since I'm editing from my car, charging my phones from there, and doing everything else that requires electricity, that is a major showstopper for me. So I'm glad that we had this time built into the schedule, because I basically limped my way here into Dallas on what resources I had to be able to get here on charges. I keep a portable generator in my car and several battery packs, and I have tapped my entire electrical supply to get here, and I'm glad that we're here when we are. Today's video is brought to you by my good friend with MindTip Games. He's the one who helped me design the website that keeps the maps and other documents that support this trip. We're gonna go behind the scenes and show you how I do the video editing for the daily videos. Now this is not a how-to tutorial. I know that there are more efficient ways to do pretty much everything that I'm doing. I've been learning this process as I go since I started on the road, and I've been perfecting a little bit for me, but I know that there's just more efficient ways to do things. I'm not trying to teach you how to edit videos. I'm just going to show you how I edit the daily videos. So let's have a look behind the scenes and see how that works on the technical side. Each video takes me about 4 hours at the end of the day. I park the car with the dog, make sure she's fed dinner, download my cameras, and then I get to work. I use Adobe Premiere Pro for all of my video editing. I tried some editing software, and although the learning curve on this is a lot steeper than many other softwares, it had the power to do what I wanted to do, so this is what I ended up sticking with. One interesting thing I found about this software is that everything is designed in a folder system. All of your projects have to be named and organized into the same folder system, but if you happen to change things, it's pretty easy to reroute the links on them. I've sped up my 4-hour video editing process to just under 10 minutes to give you guys an idea of how I get this done. The first thing that I do with each video is cut my intro. The intro footage, and really all of the footage, requires adjustments, so I resize the image, rotate slightly, and center things up on the shot. I do not come into each day with a script because I really have no idea what each day is going to bring until I get there. So I review my documents and then discuss it on the intro video. In any pauses where I have to gather my thoughts, I simply cut out this little part of the footage and then put things back to back. When I finish working on the intro footage, I do all of the same steps for the outro video as well. Each time I enter a new state, I create a new 10-second intro video, which is actually its own footage that I clip in. I also use the same templates from each day and carry them forward. The title comes forward as well as the previous day's map. This saves me a lot of time from having to find things on the color palette and reshape things, as I like to have a consistency in the videos that I put together. I also try to land the timing on the animation just right so that when I tell you what day it is flying in on signal. Most days, I have no idea what I'm going to call the video until I review all the footage and a theme emerges, but sometimes I know what it's going to be right away. The final step in putting together the intro footage is changing out the map for the day. I have all of my maps already prepared in a PowerPoint slide, so I simply cut the graphic for the day that I'm going to use and paste it in over the top of the old map display. On very rare occasion, I have to modify those routes or cut them in when I'm running at half days, but that's the exception rather than the rule. I've been relatively good about sticking to my schedule each day. With the intro and the outro done, it's time to move on to the most tedious part of the process, cutting each of the clips. My standard shot of the places I see runs about 7 to 9 seconds long. The final clips that I display in each day's video end up about 5 seconds long apiece. I intentionally run my shots longer than I plan to have them in the final video so that the transition between the clips is nice and smooth. This also gives me a little slack in case there's things I didn't notice that have to be cut. After I have finished slicing and dicing all of my clips, then I begin to reorganize the footage to put it into a more logical way to display. Although I try to keep the day's locations mostly sequential, every now and then it makes more sense to group things together. I also switch around the order that I find many geocaches in, so if anybody's trying to get a free find out of the videos, I'm making it as difficult as possible to identify which one came from where. I want my daily videos to be no more than about 12 minutes long, although it's okay with me if they're shorter, any longer than that, and I think it's a no-go. Once I have all of my footage clipped together and reorganized, I take a look at how long it is as one final run. Usually it ends up anywhere between 15 and 20 minutes on the final edits, although some days are significantly longer. Then I run back through the collection of clips and I start making cuts. I will often cut between 30 seconds and a full minute's worth of content out of the intro and the outro to help shorten things up. I also go through some of the longer clips and compress those and decide which clips are maybe not useful for one reason or another. Maybe they just weren't as good as other shots, or maybe they had something I didn't like and because I overran the footage, I got rid of it. Only after several passes back and forth through the footage do I finally get it down to what I consider a reasonable length. Then I begin to add scene transitions. While I have noticed many other YouTubers don't use transitions as heavily as I do, I happen to think they convey my story in a more meaningful way. Not only do I find that they make my frequent scene changes less abrupt, but they also help to signal things that are happening. I use the page turn as a way to show my story is continuing. Each page turn marks a time where I'm coming back onto the frame in the camera. I use spiral boxes to convey that I have had a major change in location, and the majority of transitions are paint splatters to show the changing of scenes smoothly. The most difficult part of this process for me is adding the audio layer. This is where I talk over the top of the video footage and provide a narrative of what's happening, or perhaps an educational lesson about the place that we are visiting. I make a ton of mistakes during this process, and, quite frankly, it makes me question my ability to speak. I will often transplant words or cross letters and have to record an audio clip over and over again until I finally get it right. I also spend a lot of time flipping through different brochures I have collected and using both of my phones to gather information so I can give you a little bit of a history of an area. One skill that I had never anticipated developing was reading sound waves. I can actually look at the majority of the sound waves from my video clips and know what words I'm saying by the wave. I also have this really annoying sound that I make with my mouth when I start a video clip. I can see that sound as well as breaths in the footage. I make a quick run through all of the audio clips and cut out all of the breaths, all of the clicks, and all of the pops. While I'm not entirely sure it's something anybody else but me would notice, knowing that these are there makes me crazy, so I cannot stand to have these in the final footage. After I've gotten rid of all the undesirable artifact, then comes the easiest part of working through the audio, adjusting the sound waves. Initially, I used to use average microphone volume and then bring all of my sound up to match, but I did not like the feedback that it gave my videos, so instead I did it the opposite way. I record with my microphone at full volume, and then I reduce the sound of the final clips to match the standard from the intro and the outro. Usually that means dropping the final audio by 5 to 7 points. Then I run back through and identify any sound waves that are off and normalize them to the rest of what I've got. I believe this has made all of the videos sound much better. The easiest and most entertaining step for me is adding the music layers. I have a subscription to Motion Array, and I use Motion Array to grab different audio clips each day. I try not to reuse the same sound twice, but occasionally I have done so. The Motion Array library is pretty vast too, so there is a wide variety of choices to choose from. I try to find songs that have names that match up with the day and the beat I want at the same time. Although it takes me a little bit longer, I like knowing that my song names kind of match the theme of the day. Using the skill I've developed in reading sound waves, I'm able to take a closer look at where the songs have matching patterns and then cut them together for seamless transitions. Or at least what I hope are seamless transitions between the songs. With the music layers in place, I adjust the sound down significantly so that the music does not overpower the audio. Then it's time for a final review. I start back at the beginning of the video and watch it play scene by scene. While I'm reviewing the final footage, I'm paying attention for places where the sound may need to be adjusted, up or down, where the music may be drowning out the audio, where I have an errant transition, or perhaps a shadow that doesn't belong. This final review is critical because no matter how many times I've looked through the footage, I always catch a few mistakes. Alright, and that's it. The way Mag edits videos in a nutshell. My daily videos pretty much look like that in product each and every single day. There may be additional layers here or there if I'm doing something a little more funky, but for the most part, what you saw as the in product is what you get. We should have our car back in possession tomorrow and be able to go after some of the targets we have identified in the Dallas area. But for now, Aichan and I are going to head back to the hotel. She's going to get some sleep after our morning walk, and I'm going to get to work. Thank you guys for joining us. Like this video, subscribe to stay tuned for daily updates, and we'll see you out on the trails.